What is up, Instagram? It's been a minute. I'm glad to be back. I have a friend joining in just a moment here who is one of my favorite people. He is also a cohabitator of Puerto Rico with me here. He is one of the people who inspired me to move to Puerto Rico, which I'm very grateful for. And he has an amazing new book that he's releasing that we're going to chat about today. I have, let's see, one, two, three, four, five questions for him that I want to share with you. He should be joining us in just a moment. Some of you will absolutely recognize him. He is a favorite of most people who know him. But this guy is one of my, oh, there he is. Let me grab him real quick and I'll have him join us. Oh, come back here. How do I? Here. There he is. Let me get him. Drum roll. Oh,
Hey!
hey. How you doing, sir?
Wow. Well, as you know, the sun is shining. The birds are singing here in lovely Puerto Rico. I mean, is it paradise here, brother, or is it paradise?
I was just letting everyone know you were one of the reasons why we decided to move to paradise down here, which we're very grateful for that.
Listen, there was about 100, like 65 and plus snowbirds that lived in my community here. Kate and I were the youngest people by 30 years when we moved here 5 years ago. Since then, we paved the way, my man, and amazing people like yourself, like Brendan Bouchard. I could keep on talking about all the awesome people that have moved down here. It is truly paradise now.
It's amazing. We're glad to be here. Now, I have some questions for you because you have a new book that is out that people need to go read. P.S. Before we get into it, where can they go to get probably 2 or 3 copies of this for not only themselves, but to also share with some friends and family?
Well, listen, first off, I mean, as you guys know, Jarek and myself, we are value first individuals. We give value, value, value. So we're going to give you guys so much value on this Instagram Live, but this is the book right here, The Common Path to Uncommon Success. We'll talk about it a little bit, but we're going to be mostly focused on giving you so much value to everybody that's here live and recorded as well. But I do have some pretty insane bonuses that are going along with all pre-orders at that link right there, uncommonsuccessbook.com. I mean, brother, for all pre-orders, I'm shipping a mastery journal to your door. I'm shipping a podcast journal to your door. These are all my journals, by the way, for those who might not know, and my freedom journal to your door. I'm shipping all of these to your door on me for free with one single pre-order, plus just 4 other insane bonuses. Uncommonsuccessbook.com.
Very cool. Question. If we order these, and maybe I'll chat with you after, if I order these for all of our Business Accelerator members, can we have them shipped directly to them instead of us?
100%. I mean, first what I'll do is I'm going to jump in my car, drive across the islands, kiss you full on the mouth. Then I'll drive back here and give you the link on how to get all of these books to every individual you want, individually shipped to their doorstep.
Okay, cool. So we're going to do that for our group just because I want them. I mean, with those bonuses, I want them all to have them. They're very useful journals. They're very tactically things you can use to immediately see results and things move forward. So I want all of our people to have those.
You also want that JLD kiss, right?
Yeah, that's the best part. I knew there was an extra bonus in here if I just got it at the right time.
Bonus.
So questions here. I have a couple pieces, and this is something that we're going to start with. Honestly, I remember watching a movie, and it talked about there's sheep in the world who are general people going about normal stuff. There's wolves in the world who are people who attack those sheep and try to take advantage of them. And then there's sheep dogs, the people who stand up for what's right. And just if it's what's right, it's not what is good or bad. It's not what they like or don't like. It's just what's right to do. And so for me, I've found myself being one of those people that, to me, a sheepdog is part of my DNA. Like if I see someone doing something that's wronging somebody, oh boy, I will pounce the hell out of that person because it just lights my DNA on fire. It's why I moved to Africa and taught organic farming for 3 months, because some company flew there and sold them illegal expired pesticides that killed their land.
Ugh.
And I was like, dude, that's not right.
No.
And I packed up and moved there and went and helped fix it. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And so my first question I have for you is, how have people been lied to by these quote unquote experts in the online world?
It's a great question, brother. Sorry about the shades, but it's just so bright here in Puerto Rico. I just have to wear them. I don't
It's
want
okay.
to.
Superstars wear shades, so you are there.
Not this guy. I am just a boy from Maine who wears T-shirts, and I might even not have pants on right now, by the way. That's just kind of how I roll. I am definitely the furthest thing away from a superstar. But for me, man, I've been in the game for a long time. I'm entering my going into my second decade, meaning I've done this now for 10 years, and I'm entering into my second 10-year stint of this, which I'm so excited about. I've been able to interview 3,000 illuminaries around the world, yourself being one of them. I mean, the last 9.5+ years of Entrepreneurs on Fire has been me just interviewing and learning from the world's best. And to your point, one thing I realized is that the people that I interview are those sheepdogs that you talk about. We're people who stand up for what's right. We know what real value is, and we make things happen. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there in this world right now who are lying to you. They're telling you that the path to uncommon success is hidden, that it's secret, that it's complicated. Let me be very clear. The path to uncommon success takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of hard work, but it is not secret. It's not hidden. It's not complicated. It is a step-by-step path that Jarek's been on, that I've been on, and that thousands and thousands of other sheepdog entrepreneurs, I'm just going to use that. That could be a great book, by the way. Sheepdog entrepreneurs are doing around the world. People that are saying, you know what? I'm going to provide the best solution, the number one solution to a real problem, and I'm going to give that solution to the world. And what could that solution could be? A product, it could be a service, it could be a community, it could be one-on-one coaching, it could be any number of things. But what I've learned from these 3,000 plus entrepreneurs that I've interviewed now is that there is a very, very common path. It is not complicated, hidden, nor secret. It's a common path to uncommon success. I made it my mission during my quarantine time. 480 writing hours, Jarek, I spent putting every one of these 71,000 words in this book. I could have gone with a ghostwriter. In fact, I'll be honest, I interviewed a couple because I knew it was going to be a lot of work. I just couldn't do it. I knew this book had to be written. I had to write it. I wrote every word in this book, and I am so passionate about now gifting this common path that so many successful entrepreneurs have found to their version of uncommon success. And brother, it is a 17-step roadmap. It is revolutionary, but it's not confusing. It is a step-by-step revolutionary roadmap to financial freedom and fulfillment. That's the book.
I love it. I love it. Now, someone's asking a question. Does it cover success to the individual or success based on the finances? But I have a question here, which is, after interviewing 3,000 people, which is amazing, 3,000 luminaries, what do people really want to achieve in their lifetime? Like, what is it that you found is what people really are after?
They're after one word. They're after freedom. If you can achieve freedom, what does that equal? That means every day you get to do what you want, where you want, with whom you want to do it with. Because I've achieved freedom, I get to do what I want. Talk to amazing people like Jarek. I mean, hello, back in 2012, when I was struggling and broke and clueless, I knew that my average stunk. It sucked. My average of the 5 people I spend the most time with, that great Jim Rohn quote, it was terrible. But I knew that doing a podcast would be able to allow me to connect with people like Jarek, like Seth Godin, like Tim Ferriss, like Gary Vaynerchuk, and interview these unbelievable individuals and surround myself with them and get to raise my average. That was a critical thing. Raise my average. And now, because I've done that and worked my little booty off, by the way, I have freedom. I'm where I want to be in Puerto Rico. I'm doing what I want to do, talk to people like Jarek every day and sharing value with the world. and I'm doing it with whom I want to do it with, my lovely fiance, Kate, who's in the next room here. That is freedom.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Now, you mentioned there was 17 steps in this roadmap. Can you give us a clue on some of these?
Brother, I will give you every single step. I mean, I don't hold anything back. In fact, the table of contents, which you get the whole table of contents, obviously. The prologue and chapter 1 is all on that website, uncommonsuccessbook.com. So you can see every step of those 17 steps, step by step. And if it resonates with you, you know you need the book. If it doesn't resonate with you, go elsewhere. That is my call to action for you. But let's go through as few or as many of these steps as you want. So let's start with step 1. And this is where so many people get it wrong. Guess what Jarek's doing right now? He is living his big idea. He is living in his zone of fire. So few people right now have a big idea. They don't even have a big idea, let alone their big idea. Everybody that's hearing my voice right now, believe me, you have a big idea. You have a big idea. Let me help you in chapter 1, for the first time in your life, actually identify your big idea. Because what the problem is, Jarek, and this happens so often, people see you having success, me having success, and they go off and they launch a weak, pale imitation of you, of me, of other people, because they see that we're having success in it. But you and I, we're living in our zone of fire. We're living in our big idea. So of course we're having success. And if that's not their big idea too, their zone of fire, of course they're not having success. So I teach you how to stop weakly copying other individuals and becoming a weak, pale imitation of those individuals, and instead find your thing for maybe the first time in your life and actually start off on the right foot. So that's just step 1, brother. And there are 16 on fire steps. Just a real quick side note before I give it back to you. Someone asked about finances. That's actually the last step, believe it or not. The last step is titled, Keep the Money You Make. And I can tell you what, there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are making a lot of money in this world, but there's a sad story there too, because very few of them are actually keeping the money they make, because that's not their zone of fire. That's not their superpower. And they suffer as a result. So I want to teach you that too.
Dude, we talked about this when I was on your podcast. I've sat on the board of a bunch of different companies now, and I remember sitting on one of them who is a huge deal in the hold on, someone just caught my attention. Do you ship internationally?
I was responding to them too. Yes, we do. Of course. This book will go to 147 countries around the world, period.
There you go. Okay, we got the answer. Which is cool. We have clients and we have people learning with us here from 120 countries around the world. So you got 20 additional ones that we haven't even reached yet, which is awesome. So from all around the world, no matter where you're watching this, grab a copy of the book. You can go to uncommonsuccessbook.com. Grab 3 copies. Grab one for you, one for a friend, one for a colleague. Share the wealth, get them involved, get them connected, and you get a huge stack of journals and bonuses that I want all of our members. What are we looking at? Oh, we
Those
missed
are the journals.
Just got the table.
Oh, that was the journals. Was that?
Oh, there's the journals.
Sorry.
So go grab those. Someone's saying, is it an audiobook format yet?
Jarek, I just 3 days ago finished the audiobook. And that, by the way, wow, that was a process. I love doing it because, I finished the book in middle of 2020, August of 2020. And then, went through the editing and publishing process and all that jazz. And then I just this past month went through the process of doing the audiobook. And I was going through this book and I'm like, man, I love this book so much. It made me fall back in love with the book. I'm so proud of this. I put everything into this over 8 months, 480 writing hours to write these 71,000 words. I mean, this book is a culmination of those 3,000 interviews I talked about, but also my 10-year journey so far. It has been a journey.
That's amazing. So when I went and read, I learned I'm a good speaker, and I had 3rd grade flashbacks hit me when I figured out I was not the best reader of my book. When they put me in a studio and told me to read the book, and I was like, and I'm just going to tell you what this means. And they're like, no, word for word, it needs to match. I'm like, oh.
You know what? I'm surprised they told you that, actually, because I went with HarperCollins Leadership. They're fantastic, but they are old school. And they actually said, hey, if you want to go on some riffs with your audiobook, you should actually do that, because then you can honestly say, get the book to read, but also get the audiobook, because there's a lot of additional content in there. So
that's awesome.
It's a kind of a good strategy.
That's very fun. We were right when the Kindle thing where it reads it for you was coming out.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
So we were one of the tests that they needed it like word for word. So I wish I would have gone with your team, because your team is definitely much more my style. Very, very cool. So for anyone watching, you're going to go to uncommonsuccessbook.com. You're going to buy at least 3 copies, one for yourself, one for a friend, one for a colleague to share this with. You get a huge stack of bonus journals, which are absolutely amazing. One of my favorite parts about you, before I have another question here, but one of my favorite parts about you, just to share, is I was reading a book called Firms of Endearment. It talks about the difference between the S&P 500, the good to great companies, which is a research study done by Jim Collins, and then these firms of endearment, these companies that had astronomical growth. And one of the tenets, and the difference, just numbers wise, the difference was, let's say a 330% growth over 10 years for a S&P 500. I think it was 500 and like 500 to 700 for the good to great, which was almost double the S&P 500, but it was 1,000+% growth for these firms of endearment. Amazing over the same 10 years. One of the key tenets that set apart the firms of endearment was transparency. That was one of the key tenets. And these are companies like Amazon, Timberland, REI, JetBlue. Like, these are huge companies that have really taken off in the last so many years around the world. And what's amazing, what I love most about you, you're one of the few people that I was literally on your website earlier today, because I was describing you to a friend, and they were like, but how long did it really take to get success? And I was like, well, let me tell you. So I clicked the numbers, which are your exact numbers from the day you started. And I said, well, in year 1, he made about this much and netted this much. Well,
about
here's
27K.
year 2, significantly more. And then here's year 3. It really took off. And she was like, that's unbelievable. And I'm like, you can go double check. The numbers are literally on the site. Now, I've sat on the board of what you just described of a few companies that these are big deal kind of people. They get up on stage and they tell people how big of a freaking deal they are, and they convince everyone they're the biggest thing since whatever. But I've sat on the board with them and I've seen their financials, and they don't get to keep hardly any of what they make.
No.
And even though they make millions of dollars in revenue, there's like potatoes left over at the end of the year. Like, we make significantly more than them, and we don't make anywhere near the revenue they have. And one of my mentors taught me there's the key where you can be getting rich or you can be getting big. Big feeds the ego. Rich actually gives you the ability to not only take care of your family, but to go do good in the world. And so one of my favorite things about you is you've not only been super transparent in showing people what you've actually done and how it's come in and where it's come from, but you've also, made a move down here that it helps you also keep more and then give more and help more. And I think that is so huge. And again, it's an uncommon thing that people are not paying attention to, because all these people on stage are telling them to focus on stuff that doesn't matter. So I really appreciate that about you. And I know you talk about it in these 17 steps, but I wanted to, triple highlight that for people listening, because I know a lot of the people who I connect with, they care about that. They care about the brain of, a financial analyst or banker. Like be intelligent, make real money, make mountains of profit. But then the heart of a nonprofit, do something that matters in the world, give back, care, help. And if you mix them together, my friend Adam Braun, who's built over 600 schools, says middle piece is for purpose. a for-purpose business. You're making mountains of profit. You're taking it and you're reinvesting it into things that matter. And I know you do that. I know you also support Adam and Pencils of Promise as well, which is huge, which is building schools, around the world. But I just want to say thank you for that. And I really appreciate that about you.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it.
So my other question here is, again, can you share more about the launch? We've got these journals. We've got the book. Again, for anyone watching, you're going to go to uncommonsuccessbook.com, grab 3 copies, one for you, one for a family member, one for a colleague, pass them around. Everyone's going to get the journals when you buy that. What else do they need to know here?
Let me share 2 more of these 17 steps. People get really excited, Jarek, when they go through my process, which I've really refined over the years of helping them get to their big idea. They go through the process. They're really excited because for the first time maybe ever, they've really identified their big idea. They're fired up. They know it's their zone of fire. Here's where most people screw up. They get their big idea and they think it's time to go. Now, the reason why it's not is because, listen, your big idea, and I mean this genuinely, it's a great idea. Your big idea is a great idea. And guess what? Other people have had great ideas and likely your great idea as well. So there's competition, there's entrenched competition. There's people out there that are doing your big idea. And guess what? That's a good thing because that's proof of concept. That means that you can absolutely run a successful business on that, but not day one, because that competition will squash you. So step 2, after you identify your big idea, I teach you how to discover your niche. There's a niche within your big idea. Your big idea is here. There's a niche within your big idea that is not being served. There's a void that needs to be filled, that's being ignored. I teach you how to find that void, to niche down once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times, niche down till it hurts. Because that's how you're going to get initial traction with your big idea, by being the best solution to a real problem in your big idea, not the 34th best solution to a real problem. That gets you ignored. I'm going to get you to be the best solution to a real problem within a niche of your big idea, just to get started, just to get those little fingernails dug in there, so you can get some traction. And then I'm going to teach you how to blow yourself up. Because like Jarek shared earlier, guess what? When I launched in 2012, I started at 0. I started at 0. Nobody had ever heard the name John Lee Dumas. Nobody had ever heard of the brand Entrepreneurs on Fire. I had nothing. I had nothing that I was standing upon. It was literally one idea that I was going to make work. Because what did I do? Did I just launch a podcast? Because a podcast was my big idea, Jared. But if I just launched that big idea, it fails because it's so vague and broad, and there was thousands of other podcasts. So what if I went one layer down and did a business podcast? Okay, more interesting, less competition. What if I did an interview business podcast? Okay, now we're really talking less competition. But hey, they're all doing once a week, and they're better than me. Pat Flynn, he's better than me. Andrew Warner, he's better than me. They've been doing it for years at that time. So what if I 10x'd their quantity? What if instead of doing 4 episodes a month, I did 30? What if I did a 30 podcast episode release every month? What if I did a 7-day a week, a daily podcast? What then? Well, I looked around, and guess what? There were 0 other daily podcasts interviewing entrepreneurs. So day 1, when I launched, Jarek, Entrepreneurs on Fire was the best daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs.
Nice.
It was the worst daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. It was the only daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. That's why I won. Because, brother, I was bad. I was not a good interview host. I was not a good public speaker. Neither were you when you started. Neither was anybody when they started. Everybody starts low because we don't know what we're doing. Why are you going to be good at something you've never done before? You're not. So you've got to start in a niche that's underserved and be the best from day 1. Then you grow, then you germinate, then you expand and get broader. Then you win.
Absolutely. That's huge, huge advice. And it for a lot of people, it sounds so simple, but figuring out how to narrow down is one of the most common themes I hear. So we have a coach certification program, and throughout the program we ask, who do you most want to serve? And we constantly hear like, I just want to help everybody. I
Everyone.
was like, okay, that's not going to
Everyone.
work. Well, first off, I love that you want to help everybody. Like, that's cool. I'm glad you care so much. I'm just telling you, it's not going to work as far as getting you off the ground. And so what you just shared with people is really important. And the key is, this is the other part to remember. It's starting there and then building into the bigger vision that they have. So some people get scared when you say that and go, oh, no, I can't just help only these people. They know that's where you start. And then you expand. And I'll just to give a little bit of fire behind that, it was the game changer for me. When I started coaching, I wanted to help everybody. I signed up maybe 1 to 3 people a month. Not a whole lot of stuff happened. I partnered with someone. We got extremely specific on who we helped. We got really clear on how we helped them. We delivered an unmet solution in a very specific part of town in Los Angeles. We attracted all the local people who had helped, and we did over $800,000 in revenue within our first probably 15 months of doing business together. And I was 24 years old. I had 6 years of coaching experience prior, but I was very broad. And I was under my dad's brand, who he had been doing it for 30 years at the time, so he was wide. So I was used to coaching everybody on all kinds of stuff. But when I tried to launch my own version, it was going, I need to get very specific first. Exactly what you said, sprout and get some legs and momentum, and then I can start to expand and talk to everybody. And so exactly what you just said, we did probably, 12, maybe 11, 12 years ago now. And that's what got that initial momentum. I was 24 years old. I was just trying to figure it out. I had found a partner, and we got super specific, did exactly what you just said, and it took off. So hopefully for people out there, like, this works. It's very clear and specific. I'm so glad you put this in a book form for people to get access to like this. What was the other piece?
I just want to repeat one thing that you said so people really get it, because you said these words that were so perfect. You served an unmet solution in a specific area. Listen, when you are serving an unmet solution in a specific area, you're going to win. Like, I just want people to understand that. And back to you, Jarek, I just had to say that because those were such amazing words.
It's huge. And that's exactly what it was. We found out that people were doing this in Arizona and Nevada and Vegas and New York and Florida, but no one had tapped the LA market at that point. And so my friend and I partnered, and we went specifically into Los Angeles and only talked to people in Los Angeles. And when it worked, my thought was like, let's tackle the world. Why not go to London and Sweden and Tokyo? And she's like, no, let's stay focused. Like, we almost made $1 million in a year and a half here. She's like, let's stay focused. It's working. Like, why are we going to scatter at this point? And so I had more business lessons to learn, because I decided to do a road show around Earth, and it was not the smartest idea yet at that point. It was way too early. And so
I like what Faye says. Everyone that's breathing and connected to gravity. That's an example of people trying to serve a broad market and failing.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It's exciting, but it doesn't go anywhere.
Doesn't work.
So let's do one more step, and then I apologize. My wife is going to go get a massage, and that means it is dad time for me to go take control and hang out with my little human downstairs. So again, let's do one more solid step for everybody.
Before I get into that step, I just want to just touch again on priorities, and you can just see how Jarek has his priorities correct. Because guess what? He's achieved freedom. He gets to spend the time that he wants, with whom he wants, doing what he wants, where he wants. And now when his wife goes and gets a massage, he's hanging out with a little guy. I mean, that is freedom. And I love that you have that, brother. The last thing that I'll share is this. Listen, step 7, chapter 7, I sat down to write it. I thought it was just going to be another chapter, another step. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And the average chapter in this book is pretty typical, like 3,000 to 5,000 words. A week later, I'm still writing the same chapter. By the end of it, I'm like, holy crap, I've written 13,500 words in this one chapter, which, by the way, is the size of some business books. And this is just one of the 17 chapters in this book. And there's actually 18 chapters because I have a killer bonus chapter. But I finished this and I stepped back, Jarek, and I said, listen, there's a reason why our business has been so profitable. Like Jarek mentioned earlier, if you guys were on the earlier part of this interview, we've actually published our monthly income reports now for 90 months in a row. 90 months in a row, we have published a detailed monthly income report where we share every dollar we brought in, every expense that we had. We bring our lawyer on for a legal tip. We bring our CPA on for a tax tip. We make it super valuable. 90 months in a row, we have had a net profit of over $100,000. Over $100,000, 90 months in a row. Sometimes a lot more, but never less. 90 months in a row. There's a reason we maintained that type of revenue, that type of consistency. And by the way, an average net profit to gross margin percentage of 73%, which is mind blowing. We've actually crossed 90% 3 times, which is almost unheard of. We keep track of all this stuff because it's important. Number one, what gets measured, what gets improved, Peter Drucker. But the thing I want to share is the reason why we've been so successful financially and just in business in general is because of this chapter. And I didn't even realize it so much, Jarek, until I wrote it, which again is maybe even another reason to write a book, because you can start to see things that you might have just not even realized. And it's creating a content production plan. Like when I first wrote down that was going to be a chapter, I was like, oh, that'll be a good chapter. I'll write a couple thousand words. Oh no. Like that chapter is the definition, defines and shows the reason why we've made over $20 million in 8 years. Because our content production plan is not just better than most people's, it is 100 times better than most people's. I'm going to be honest with everybody right now. It's likely that your content production plan sucks. And I don't say that to be mean. I say that to be honest, because my content production plan sucked when I started. I didn't have a clue. But over 10 years, I've developed such a beast of a content production plan that I win on such a high level with 3 virtual assistants and just myself and Kate. It's 5 of us total. Yet people think we have this 100-person business because I do podcast episode every day, social media this, webinars that, journals this, books that, communities this, blah, 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 speaking on stages around the world, you name it. No, it's because I have an amazing content production plan. And again, take that as a challenge when I tell you that your content production plan sucks, because that's okay, because everybody sucks when they start or when they're just getting going. This is your chance to learn from my decade of sucking. I haven't sucked for a decade, but a good part of that, mine did suck. And now it's amazing. And I put it into 13,500 words. I put it all in this book, The Common Path to Uncommon Success. If you're willing to work hard, if you're willing to follow a proven process, if you want a 17-step roadmap to your version of financial freedom and fulfillment, go pre-order this book at uncommonsuccessbook.com. Take Jarek's advice, order 3, because I'm going to be shipping to every single pre-order, by the way. When you pre-order 3, I'm shipping you 9 of these total. So you're getting 3, 3, and 3 of my Mastery Podcast and Freedom Journal, which those are amazing journals, and you will love them. And I'm shipping them to your door on me for free with 1 single pre-order. With 3 pre-orders, you get 9 of them. There's 4 other amazing bonuses. This book has been personally endorsed by Seth Godin, by Gary Vaynerchuk, by Neil Patel, Dory Clark, Erica Mandy. I'm so proud of those endorsements. And I just want to get this book into your hands, because this book is a gift of my 10 years boiled down into 17 steps that, by the way, I haven't come up with on my own. This is the 3,000 guests that I've interviewed, Jarek and the like, over the last 9+ years to compile into these 71,000 words, and they're yours. they're yours.
I love it. I love it. So one more time, go to uncommonsuccessbook.com. So much for joining us on this. Thank you for sharing with everybody. He's back. Thank you for sharing with everybody. Thank you for jumping on. I'm going to go spend some dad time hanging out with my little human. Make sure if you're watching this live or recorded, we're going to do one more bonus, and I'm going to send the link to John so he can share it with you. If you buy it within the next, I don't know, what's fair, 24 hours after watching this, I'm going to send John a link where you can get a copy of our high performance program online. It has Sean Stevenson, Wim Hof, Ben Greenfield, myself. Students are learning on this program from 120 countries around the world. We're going to give you that as a bonus. I'll make sure John gets the link so we can somehow, that anyone buys in the next 24 hours from here, you'll also get a copy of that as well.
Yeah, real quick,
thank
Jarek,
you very
I'll just
much.
add to that. It'll be a very simple process because they're going to email me for the link to the bonuses, and everybody that says they came through Jarek, I'm going to add in that link that you're talking about in the email, and they'll get straight access.
Done. We'll make that happen. Very cool. I trust you on processes because mine would have been way wonkier. So thank you for that. You just saved me a lot of typing. I appreciate it. I'll get you that link so you have it, so you can toss that in for anyone who comes here. So if you bought it and you're from this video, make sure to say from Jarek in some way, shape, or form so we know who to send the link to. Thank you for joining. I'm going to go hit some dad time. You enjoy the other side of the island. We will enjoy this side of the island. We got to hang out a little bit more. Thank you for watching, everyone. Really appreciate you. Again, go to uncommonsuccess.com, uncommonsuccessbook.com. Buy 3 copies, one for you, one for a family member, one for a colleague. Spread the love. Help people tap into that uncommon success. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, brother. Adios.